Watch it.
cooperation
Watch.
and a string of
She touched him, and he did that. Man, come on. We're gonna watch it back one more time. Watch this. Watch it as soon as she touch him. At it. You feel me? Come on. And then look at this creepiness. I'm telling you more and more often. Welcome back to the coolest channel on YouTube. Make sure y'all smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. Look, don't skip around in this video because y'all will get lost in the sauce. It's a lot of information in this video, but look, hopefully y'all enjoy. Good vibes only. Let's get it.
What we're about to see is jaw-dropping, and it was passed over by the New York Times. The New York Times had an opportunity to run this story, and they didn't. And we are here now at Redacted going to run this story. We're going to show you this unbelievable film in just a moment. But what's more astonishing, however, might be the cover-up and the secrecy of this top secret film. My guest today is Jon Stewart, former candidate for Illinois governor in U.S. Congress. He spent more than 5 years investigating, proving the provenance of this alleged film, this top secret film, which we're about to show you, and which you are about to see. And it purportedly shows an alien, an extraterrestrial, biological entity being interrogated at the S2 facility in 1997 by members of the U.S. military. Yes, an alien creature being interrogated by members of the U.S. military. So we're going to show this film in a minute, and it's about 2 minutes and 57 seconds long, this film from 1997. We're going to walk through it, and you're going to explain to our viewers exactly what we're seeing, but I do want to provide some context here on how I think we've let our audience wait long enough, but I absolutely wanted to provide the deep context on this film so that you're not just watching this film without any context and knowing the names of the individuals who were in the room, people who were there at the time, and the verification of that, all of that processing there. The New York Times piece of this, them saying, we believe you, we believe the veracity of this. So you have all of that. Now, let's play the film. So here it is. This is, again, it's silence. There's no audio on this. What are we looking at here as we play this film? What are we seeing on our screen, John?
Okay. Contrary to Victor's voiceover, this is a film shot April of 1991, a thought projection interview of a other gray, designated an other gray, an extraterrestrial biological entity. He is a haploid, which means he came with only one sexual chromosome. Human beings are diploids. For any microbiologists out there, if I'm hatcheting those words, I'm sorry. But this being had only one sexual chromosome. He came to the S2 alpha, the official designation of the underground facility that housed the alien interrogation and retention program. That's the unofficial name of what this was. They call these interview suites the ambassador suites because the government did try for the care and did treat these and look at these beings, and still do, as ambassadors from other planets and other dimensions. And if you hear David Grush coughing on his words, it's because he doesn't want to tell you that some of these beings are from other dimensions. And so this being was very ill at the time. He had a respiratory issue. Now, Sean David Morton also heard, I can't verify this veracity, that it's some sort of debilitation or disease with its heart-lung sac. It does not have a traditional heart. It's got a heart-lung one sac, which was the need for the special monitor, which goes up and down, does not go across, to monitor this bizarre heart-lung one sac organ that the alien has. And behind the viewing glass were 5 men, 2 telepaths. There is a researcher out there, and I don't doubt it, and because I've seen the outline of the figure, and I didn't catch this, and someone else did, so I'm crediting them. I don't ever want to not credit other people. That Colin Powell was in that interview room. Now, I know that sounds crazy. I can't verify it, but it certainly looks like the outline of them back in the 80s and 90s. But there was two men in particular that were very in touch with these beings, and they would sit down with these aliens and these beings and immediately get information and relate it back to whatever military person was in the room. As you can see on the tape, the being eventually starts to medically flag, if I can use the whistleblower Victor's terminology, and he is then attended to by the medical staff. And Victor tells us that the medical staff in S2 and S4, are more chosen for their ability to keep secrets than their medical knowledge. And again, I have been in contact. I have the names of the two doctors that are going to be on either side of this being. On the bottom, you're going to see DNI/27. That is the Department of Naval Intelligence. According to Richard Doty, there's like a conga line of different agencies waiting to insert their questions to this being. In the 2-hour-long interview, the interviews are conducted about once a month.
What did you start to?
And you know what's crazy though? He does appear like he has like a real nose, like kind of like a little smaller version of ours. Remember how they said that like all the stuff that we're doing, putting into our bodies and stuff, like in the future, that's what like the human civilization gonna look like. Woo! Hey, what a time to be alive. I'm happy we this before we turn into that. I'm not reincarnating, coming back here. How about y'all guys? If y'all believe in that.
Piece together from people who were in the room. And so
Not that vehicle right there, dog.
when we say hoaxed video, I think you're saying that was what the assumption you had going into this, that this was hoax. That was sort of the media speculation about this. Now you've proven and taken it to the United States Congress, which, by the way, they're about to hold a hearing on this next week. And I think that this is, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be a big piece of this. And other whistleblowers are now confirmed to be coming forward to Congress next week, civilian whistleblowers who are going to be testifying of the things that they've been a part of and seen. So talk about the people that you started, the witnesses who were in the room with this creature, and how you started to verify the veracity of this film.
Has the U.S. government become aware of actual evidence of extraterrestrial, otherwise unexplained forms of intelligence? And if so, when do you think this first occurred?
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open, both scientifically. Right. Certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Okay. Can you give me the names and titles of the people with direct first-hand knowledge and access to some of these crash retrieval programs, and maybe which facilities, military bases the recovered material would be in? And I know a lot of Congress talked about we're going to go to Area 51, and and there's nothing there anymore anyway. It's just and we move like a glacier. And as soon as we announce it, I'm sure the moving vans would pull up. But please.
I can't discuss that publicly, but I did provide that information both to the Intel committees and the Inspector General.
And we could get that in the skiff if we were allowed to get in a skiff with you. Would that be probably what you would think?
Sure, if you had the appropriate accesses, yeah.
What special access programs cover this information, and how is it possible that they have evaded oversight for so long?
I do know the names. Once again, I can't discuss that publicly and how they've evaded oversight. In a closed setting, I can tell you the specific tradecraft used.
All right. When do you think those programs began, and who authorized them?
I do know a lot of that information, but that's something I can't discuss publicly because it's sensitive.
All right. If any of y'all want to jump in on any of this, you're more than welcome to. What level of security clearance is required to fully access these programs?
Well, anybody who has...
and I say that because myself, Representative Gates and Representative Luna were basically turned away at one point at Eglin. So please go right ahead.
Certainly difference between member access and, say, somebody like me, but anybody who has a TSSCI clearance and meets the eligibility criteria, the access adjudicative authority should be able to grant you access.
Ms. Bircher, if you'll yield, so just to put a fine point on that, there's nothing that you're aware of that's above special access program classification.
It's a misnomer that there's anything actually above top secret. Executive Order 13526 delineates the classification levels.
Right. But I draw a point on that because we can have access to those programs. And so the notion that we're not being given that access sort of defies our typical muscle memory here in Congress. Thank you, Mr. Burchett. I'll yield back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Gates. Along those lines, Title 10, you may not know this or not, but Title 10 and Title 50 authorization, they seem to say they're inefficient. So who gets to decide this, in your opinion, in the past?
It's a group of career senior executive officials.
Okay, are they government officials?
Both in and out.
Do what?
Both in and out of government, and that's about as far as I
got
can
you.
go there. Yeah.
All right.
Message, y'all. Look, we gotta replay those and watch those. Y'all gotta really pay attention to what's going on. Listen to the words, man. Like, so everything that people were saying, like, it's not a conspiracy. Who's behind, like, who has what powers in this country and everything, and what's really been going on and who's been doing it. Follow the money. We've been saying this for how long? But look, let's get back into it though. Crazy, right? See how that comes full circle. Let them keep saying we crazy. We've been talking about this a long time ago, and you know, it's getting a lot more clear for some people. Some people trying to catch up, but people thought we was crazy, right?
Where'd it go? What? I can't find it. Oh, wait. Focus. It's that is not a fucking bird. Dude, a hawk doesn't turn orange. What is that? Oh, dude, I can't get on my camera. What is this, dude? Wait, look. What? Oh, dude, they see it. They see it. What is that? What the fuck is this?
Yo, they spazzing out.
Dalton.
I'm telling you more and more often. You hear people in the background too.
Bro, my heart just sank.
Look what's back there.
Dalton, did you just see that? Dude, I got all of that on video.
And you know what's crazy? Look, I leave the possibilities out there. CGI is definitely possible. But I don't see how he had made it that good. But one thing is, you can tell the difference between a man like one of ours and one of theirs is, you know, the sounds. Theirs wouldn't have any sound. But yeah, let's keep going. So y'all know whose it is.
Do you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would think that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Maybe in if we could get in a confidential area skiff, we could talk about that. But unfortunately, we were denied access to the skiff, and that's very unfortunate in this scenario.
Has any of the activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured, and the activity. By UAPs or by people within the federal government? Both.
Okay, so there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing.
They don't know what they're shooting at, but they shooting. That ain't no drone. Look at that. All you hear is Allah Akbar. Just, they can't hit it. Look at that. Look at that. Bobbing and weaving on them. It's like hitting a double end bag, man. They can't even hit it. Look at that. Multiple shots. 20, 50, 100. Dancing on them. And you know what's funny? It makes a U-turn and comes right back. It's like a board.
Hey, remember how we was talking about the war zones and what they were seeing in the war zones and stuff? And who always show up and who always there? Y'all been tracking. Let me know if y'all been tracking in the comments down below. But yeah, let's get it. Y'all seen the focus fire. They was really at it. You feel me? Come on. And then look at this creepiness.
One species that's about 39 inches tall, but the skin color of, sort of a brownish gray, no hair, very fine lips, no external pinna, ear flaps, the chimpanzee ears we have. They don't have those. They just have an opening. There are others that are much larger. Remember, there's at least 60 to 70 species that have been cataloged for the people I've worked with.
That's great.
I think Sergeant Stone said there were, at that time, 68 or 69 species. And some they're various sizes and what have you. So a lot of that's sort of a caricature in pop culture. I'll also just say, be careful of what's out there in that kind of public domain. A lot of that is disinformation, false information. Because the ones that are the caricature you're talking about are actually man-made ones that are made to look alien and aren't. Those are the ones that are using all kinds of technologies to quote-unquote abduct people. Those aren't being done by extraterrestrials. Those are being done by the fake aliens. And we have a whole dossier on that, going back to the late 50s, early 60s.
And what he's talking about, the fake aliens, it's like technology, like, living flesh, but that can be controlled, kind of like something else we was talking about on here. But I want to get into that. You know how they be.
My name is Ryan Fobbs Graves, and I am a former F-18 pilot with a decade of service in the U.S. Navy, including 2 deployments in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Inherent Resolve. I have experienced advanced UAP firsthand, and I'm here to voice the concerns of more than 30 commercial aircrew and military veterans who have confided their similar encounters with me. Today, I would like to highlight 3 critical issues that demand our action. As we convene here, UAP are in our airspace, but they are grossly underreported. These sightings are not rare or isolated, they are routine. Military aircrew and commercial pilots, trained observers whose lives depend on accurate identification, are frequently witnessing these phenomena. The stigma attached to UAP is real and powerful and challenges national security. It silences commercial pilots who fear professional repercussions, discourages witnesses, and is only compounded by recent government claims questioning the credibility of eyewitness testimony. Parts of our government are aware of more about UAP than they let on, but excessive classification practices keep crucial information hidden. Since 2021, all UAP videos are classified as secret or above. This level of secrecy not only impedes our understanding, but fuels speculation and mistrust. In 2014, I was an F-18 Foxtrot pilot in the Navy Fighter Attack Squadron 11, the Red Rippers. And I was stationed at NAS Oceana in Virginia Beach. After upgrades were made to our jet's radar systems, we began detecting unknown objects operating in our airspace. At first, we assumed they were radar errors. But soon, we began to correlate the radar tracks with multiple onboard sensors, including infrared systems, eventually through visual ID. During a training mission in Warning Area Whiskey 72, 10 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, 2 F-18 Super Hornets were split by a UAP. The object, described as a dark gray or a black cube inside of a clear sphere, came within 50 feet of the lead aircraft and was estimated to be 5 to 15 feet in diameter. The mission commander terminated the flight immediately and returned to base. Our squadron submitted a safety report, but there was no official acknowledgement of the incident and no further mechanism to report the sightings. Soon, these encounters became so frequent that aircrew would discuss the risk of UAP as part of their regular pre-flight briefs. Recognizing the need for action and answers, I founded Americans for Safe Aerospace. The organization has since become a haven for UAP witnesses who were previously unspoken due to the absence of a safe intake process. More than 30 witnesses have come forward, and almost 5,000 Americans have joined us in the fight for transparency at safeaerospace.org. The majority of witnesses are commercial pilots at major airlines. Often, they are veterans with decades of flying experience. Pilots are reporting UAP at altitudes that appear above them at 40,000 feet, potentially in low Earth orbit or in the gray zone below the Kármán line, making inexplainable maneuvers like right-hand turns and retrograde orbits or J-hooks. Sometimes these reports are reoccurring, with numerous recent sightings north of Hawaii and in the North Atlantic. Other veterans are also coming forward to us regarding UAP encounters in our airspace and oceans. The most compelling involve observations of UAP by multiple witnesses and sensor systems. I believe these accounts are only scratching the surface, and more will share their experiences once it is safe to do so. In closing, I recognize the skepticism surrounding this topic. If everyone could see the sensor and video data I witnessed, our national conversation would change. I urge us to put aside stigma and address the security and safety issue this topic represents. If UAP are foreign drones, it is an urgent national security problem. If it is something else, it is an issue for science. In either case, unidentified objects are concerned for flight safety. The American people deserve to know what is happening in our skies. It is long overdue. Thank you.
Know what I'm saying? Safety. We told y'all stop flying in them planes. If you don't need to, don't, man. Whatever, though.
Big risk right now with disclosure is
fly on Spirit, you're going to become a Spirit.
Same operators going and providing portfolios of false information to the Congress and to the White House and to the media, to the people. We know that's already happening. And so one of the big risks, and I wrote a paper in 1999, it's up on our website, this site, seriousdisclosure.com or drstephengreer.com. You will see that I wrote in 1999 that if this goes sideways, they're going to take the disclosure of this subject and flip it into a War of the Worlds, Independence Day, the movie thing, and create global chaos and create a situation to unite the world around some non-existing threat from outer space. Because that was always the plan. You know, Carol Rosin, a member of my team who was the spokesperson for Werner von Braun, the guy who invented the rocket for Adolf Hitler, and who then became part of our aerospace industry back in the 45. He warned on his deathbed that they would hoax an alien threat, and it's all a lie, and that was the plan that they had come up with in the 50s. So we're now 70 years into this sort of a long-term plan to create a hoax, basically. So I tell people, yeah, there are extraterrestrials, aliens if you want to call them. There are man-made craft. Those are the ones that are a threat. Those are the ones doing abductions, human trafficking, drug trafficking. They're being misused all over the place. If you look at what we just did at the National Press Club in Washington, you see that on my YouTube channel. We have a Marine who was on a rescue mission after the big Indonesian earthquake and tsunami in 2009. And Michael Herrera. And his platoon came across one of these gigantic, about 300-foot diameter, man-made UFOs, offloading weapons, and there were crates. And we later learned, he first thought they were drugs. We later learned from other sources, those were people in there being put into slavery to be used in experimentation.
Meaning human beings?
Human. Oh, yeah, children, women, yeah. Specific ones, yeah.
You know what's crazy? This shit made it to Vlad TV, y'all. You ever catch Vlad here and there? But like that's crazy. It's being talked about everywhere. We just got to make sure. I'm just trying to make sure we all paying attention. We all on the same page. We tracking. That's it. I ain't saying everything that they saying is real. We're gonna have to see these things unfold and, you know, do our own research. But I mean, what we've been talking about has been real so far, right? All right, let's keep going.
To use. So, I mean, these rogue operations are a serious problem. And luckily, all that information is being handed over to the authorities at the Pentagon and in the Congress and the White House military office that I deal with. But, you know, whether or not there'll be a satisfactory action or outcome by the leaders in the political system is to be determined. I don't know. We're doing everything we can. I think everyone listening to this show should write to their senators and their congressmen and to the White House president and say, you need to look into this and the details of it, but also be aware of the false narrative that's going to be presented to you. Because the false narrative is where we run into problems. You know, if the establishment gets convinced that there is this kind of threat, which doesn't exist, from outer space, they could pivot the whole world into a situation where, you know, everyone would be in sort of a lockdown situation through the fear of a sort of a hoaxed threat from outer space.
Hey, look, we ain't the only ones talking about it, I'm telling you. But look, man, y'all got to understand, Dr. Greer is a whole medical doctor that is now doing this type of work, man. Like, he has nothing to, like, gain from this. He's actually spent a lot of money on his own research. Like, how many of y'all will set your life up and you be rich as hell and you can just do whatever? You can just disappear after you retire, bro, and just live how you want to live off the grid. But he decided that, you know, I'm going to double back and let the people know what's up. I'm going to spend my millions that I set aside for me and my family to retire and be good and put my life on the line to get this information out here. Hey, man, we got to give it up for those type of people, man. Respect. Because most people wouldn't speak up. Let's be honest. Most people come on here and criticize me. Whoop, 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 you doing this and that. We can't pay attention to that. But one thing is, you wouldn't get your ass up here and do this. So shut up. That same ball. They say it's happening again. It's like the same spot. Everybody getting active. Everybody seeing it. Wonder what that can be.
So NASA has a ship called the NSX. They've been working on this for about 15 years, and this is the warp ship that they're going to utilize to travel faster than light, or a decent percentage of the speed of light, without violating Albert Einstein's theory of relativity. Because in a warp bubble, what happens is you don't fly through space. You shrink space in front of the ship and you expand it from the back. So space moves the ship. So by that method, you can travel multiples of light speed without violating the theory of relativity, because you're not actually traveling at light speed. Space is moving.
This is what you get when someone besides NASA or FakeX sends something up in the sky. You don't live on a bowl in a vacuum. Wake up.
The first person to ever venture far enough up to see what the Earth looked like was a guy named Auguste Piccard. Most of us have never heard of this person because when he made it to the stratosphere, he said he saw what appeared to be a flat disk with an upturned edge. Now, after Auguste Piccard ventured to the stratosphere, we have the U.S. Air Force showing us the stars from space for the very first time. And when you look at what they showed us, what they actually saw, you begin to understand why the moon landing never had stars in the background. Why they're not showing us stars from space anymore, because it's very difficult to pull this off.
The sky is deep black.
As you can see the stars.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and pretty much all the time you can see the stars.
The sky, of course, was black.
The heavens are 10 times as bright, stars 10 times as numerous.
And we cannot see stars.
The thing about Carl Sagan, billions and billions, there really are billions and billions of stars, and you can see them.
It's an unfathomable blackness, like with a texture you feel like you could stick your hand into.
And that's when things start to get weird, because people have gone back and looked at declassified documents that for some reason keep mentioning a flat, non-rotating Earth. Over and over again, it's in their flight plans, it's in all their working models. This flat, stationary Earth repetitively keeps showing up. If it doesn't exist, there'd be absolutely no reason to base all of your science on it. Something else shows up. In the 50s, in Russia, they had documents describing the firmament.
Message, I'm telling you, like, look, you got some people like, oh, is that? But look, you ain't never been in a plane before with your lame ass. Shut up.
Moments ago, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had to be escorted away from the cameras after freezing in the middle of his opening remarks in his weekly leadership press conference. I want to watch that moment, and then we'll talk.
There's been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
Like,
are you good? Mitch?
Okay, Mitch. Anything else you want to say, or should I just go back to your office? Do you want to say anything else to the press? Okay.
hey, you know what's crazy though is like I seen in another clip a dude was doing a breakdown, and I do agree. As soon as the woman to the left over there in the green touched him, she touched him with something, he froze instantly, and the dude behind him was even kind of grinning like they knew what was up, you know. Yeah, run it back for yourself.
NBC's Ali Vitale, who's standing by.
I'll show you. Whatever. Watch this.
Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had to be escorted away from the cameras after freezing in the middle of his opening remarks in his weekly leadership press conference. I want to watch that moment, and then we'll talk.
There's been good bipartisan cooperation
Watch.
and a string of
She touched him, and he did that. Man, come on. We're gonna watch it back one more time. Watch this. Watch as soon as she touch him. Watch.
Minority Leader Mitch McConnell had to be escorted away from the cameras.
Why did she get a line to him when he was already at the podium? Like, I think that's highly unusual. You know, if she's not coming to speak, why is she touching somebody at the podium when he's supposed to be speaking? Think about it. It's right in front of our faces.
After freezing in the middle of his opening remarks in his weekly leadership press conference, I want to watch that moment, and then we'll talk.
There's been good bipartisan cooperation and a string of
Are you good? Mitch?
Okay, Mitch. Anything else you want to say, or should I just go back to your office? Do you want to say anything else to the press? Okay.
Let's go
All right, I want to bring in NBC's Ali Vitale, who's standing by for us with this. Ali, he did come back minutes later to answer some questions. Do we know what happened?
Not yet. And he did come back and spoke with reporters, was able to take questions. One reporter asked him about that moment that you just played there, concerning moment during his press conference as he was just a few seconds into talking with reporters, as he does on a weekly basis here. When the reporter asked him about that moment, he simply said, "I'm fine," and he moved on. He spoke for the rest of the press conference in his normal, somewhat muted tones, but reporters who were around him before that moment happened, it really was very jarring. You can see the looks on the faces of senators around him, including Senator John Thune, who was standing just over McConnell's shoulder, Senator John Barrasso, the number 3 Republican, coming over to him on the side, as you showed there, asking if there's anything else that he has to say to the press or if he just wants to go back to his office. That's what happened in the moments after he left that press conference. We saw Senator Joni Ernst, another member of Republican leadership, do the sign of the cross, almost as if she were praying for him during a moment that could have been potentially scary. But look, this is not the first time that there have been questions about the Senate Minority Leader. We know that back in March, he suffered a fall at a hotel here in Washington, leaving a fundraiser. That left him out of Washington for several weeks. He was home recovering from a concussion and fractured ribs. Of course, he's back in the Capitol now. And look, when he walks around here, we do see him sometimes walking with the help of aides. His office, we are waiting to hear if they have anything else to provide. One of his spokespeople just said they'll get back to us, but clearly they are meeting and trying to at least figure out how they're going to talk about this with the press. But I think what's important here to note is that moment seemed concerning. He was able to come back and continue talking to reporters during this weekly press conference. Yasmin.
Well, we certainly wish for the very best for the Senate Minority Leader and hope he is okay after all that. Ali Vitale.
Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem of the Holy See, followed by the national anthem of the United States.
Hey, that's what that lady hand looked like. Slow down that video of Mitch getting touched. That's what that lady hand looked like that touched him.
Let's go to another one.
Just saying.
Again, this is another example of translation. So here, they took human beings, they stuck them into an fMRI machine, and they showed them images. And they taught the AI, I want you to translate from the readings of the fMRI, so how blood is moving around in your brain, to the image. Can we reconstruct the image then? You know, the AI then only looks at the brain, does not get to see the original image, and it's asked to reconstruct what it sees, right? So when you dream, your visual cortex sort of runs in reverse, so this means certainly in the next couple of years we'll be able to start decoding dreams. Okay, so it can like reconstruct what you're seeing, but can it reconstruct your, say, what you're thinking, your inner monologue? So here they did roughly this, it's a different lab, but roughly the same idea. They had people watch these videos and would try to reconstruct their inner monologue. So here's the video, it's this woman getting hit in the back, getting knocked forward, okay? And then what did the AI reconstruct? I see a girl that looks just like me, get hit on the back, and then she's knocked off.
So just to really name something really quickly, the point about differentiating between Siri or I do voice transcription and then it kind of fails and AI seems to like it's not really always growing or working, and like we shouldn't be really that scared about AI because it always has these problems, right? And we've always been promised, oh, AI is going to take off, it's going to do all these things. What the point of this is I hope you're seeing that when you're just translating between different languages and everyone's now working on one system, that the scaling factor and the growth is changing in a very different way. So we swapped the engine out of what's underneath the paradigm of AI, but we don't talk about it in a different way because we still have this word we call AI, when the engine underneath what is representing that has changed.
Also really important to note here, go back to that first law of technology. You invent a technology, you uncover a new responsibility. We don't have any laws or ways of talking about the right to what you're thinking about. We haven't needed to protect that before.
Inception. Sound like Inception to me.
This is a headquarters for the Illuminati. This is where they'll ship most of their supplies. Goes all the way to Washington, D.C., huh? Goes all the way to Washington, D.C. Yeah, you Homeland Security? Yeah. How far have you taken this down to, how far have you actually ran a load? Miles? Up to Maine? No shit. How many miles do you think that is? Man, that's unbelievable. Not to mention, I heard there's one that goes all the way to Colorado, right? Unbelievable. What do you think you're hauling? Any idea? Yeah, okay. Yeah. 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 I know there's been a lot of military stuff being hauled around lately, that's for sure, huh? We deliver to them. Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. 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 Well, I appreciate it. I heard there's water supply, food supply, everything's in there. Yeah, unbelievable. You don't get no cell phone service. No. Peace, brother.
They got water, all this other things under there, right? You wonder why they don't have any internet signal in there. It's not just because they're in the mountains, because they can run anything through the top of the mountain, receive service, put antennas up there, everything, right? Satellites, whatever. It's to stop people from FaceTiming people. Oh, I'm down here and showing all the elite shit. Like, you feel me? Like, but it's already happening in a different way with these videos. It's crazy. They're going underground while something big is going to happen.
I mean, basically, you got an underground roadway system here that runs all the way to Maine, to Washington, D.C., to Colorado. It's fully stocked. It runs completely underground. And you can see they've been hauling tons of military equipment. They're stocking all these bases. Now, the other thing is the railroad system here is also very strategic. They're bringing in boxcar loads, and they're dump shipping here, and they can really deliver to all these locations, which these locations go all the way to Area 51. These locations go all the way to Washington, D.C. There's access underneath the White House to this location, okay? So this is a strategic location, which is really the new command center for the Illuminati and the United States government. Well, forget the United States government. This is a headquarters for the Illuminati. This is where they'll ship most of their supplies. When they go underground, they can stay underground for quite some time. And this is stocked with food, water, everything they need. It's an underground city. So this is the north entrance, and we're going to go see if we can do some more digging.
Something never seen before. That's crazy, right? Whales. Yeah, but we already know how that go. They start beaching themselves, and they try to let them out the water. But we gotta understand, there's a lot of things happening. We done seen a lot of different species come up from the depths of the ocean where they usually at. Now they're coming up. I think it's because the frequencies are changing and the Schumann resonance has been changing. We seen a pattern in the Schumann resonance that's never been seen before. It was crazy. It was beautiful too. But it's a higher vibration. And what we've been saying, you got to raise your vibrations in order to make the shift type thing, So just work on yourself, do your shadow work, those things that used to bother you. We got to start deprogramming all of that hate, all of that anger, all these material things that hold you back, Like me, I can lose all these material things and be on the same level as everybody else. And I still be me. You still gonna see me being me. If we was all wearing sticks and trees as clothes and stuff, you'll still be able to hear me outside of everybody else, because I'm just me, bro. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And I suggest everybody start doing that. Really start tapping into who you are and why you here, and getting right with yourself, doing your work. Work on yourself. Understand why you're here, what you're here to work on. But let's get it.
I understand. He said they just would touch the door. Like the walls are reactive, the door would open.
So he said eat 1 meal a day. He said eating 3 meals a day will wear out the stomach of even a brass monkey, he said. Well, everybody thought that, I'm supposed to be eating 3 meals a day. That's what I've been taught all of my life. And I even was told that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. The question is it in the scripture? Where'd you get it from? God didn't say it. Kellogg said it. And they were trying to get you to buy the cereal that they was producing. So when you go and look at the digestion, it takes 24 hours to digest 1 meal, to go from the large to intestine, small intestine, and to make it all the way out the system for the body to break it down and extract the benefit and get rid of the waste. It takes 24 hours to break down 1 meal. Well, that means that if I eat 2 meals, I'm living 2 days on the inside of my body, and I'm only living really 1. So I'm wearing out my system the more that I eat. He said eat 1 meal a day. What is he saying? It gives your body a chance to break down that meal, extract that which is tonic, healing and good for you, and also break down and discard that which is toxic. But if you eat 3, now your body's still working on the tonic and the toxic from 1. Now you done slapped another meal on it. Now it's got to wrestle with the toxins from that. I can't get to all the toxins from the last meal because I'm working on this new. Then you come back with a snack. Then you come back. By the time we get finished with it, we are full of toxins. And we find ourselves suffering from illness and sickness unnecessarily. So the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was taught that by God. Then he took it to another level. He said, you don't have to just eat 1 meal a day. He said, if you eat 1 meal a day and fast 3 days out of a month, he said, you'll hardly ever get sick. He said, but if you don't want to ever get sick, just eat 1 meal and then nothing the next day, and then eat 1 meal every other day. Think about that. He said that at the most you may get sick once every 2 or 3 years. Scientists are now bearing witness to it. You've seen them do these experiments on mice. And the white man, he loves taking credit for everything. They call it the OMAD diet. OMAD is an acronym, 1 meal a day. It ain't talking about no Neanderthal. It's talking about what they borrowed from the wisdom that God gave the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that they want to take credit for.
Hey, I will say this though. Like when everybody else was getting sick, I don't get sick, y'all. I don't get sick. That's why I'm always feeling good. Vibrations is just most of the time I'm always like here. You feel me? I just wish I just tried to get on here and share that shit with y'all through these videos. You feel me? Like hopefully y'all can feel it. Do y'all be feeling the vibrations in the video? But what I will say is, man, my energy is high. I eat 1 meal a day. I do intermittent fasting. That's real talk. I eat 1 meal. And I'm good with that. I've been doing it for years, and I feel amazing. I do not get sick. And when everybody else was catching the, you know what? I didn't. I was good. I don't know if it has something to do with that, but I know that it's helping me. My energy is high all the time. Skin be clear. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can process your thoughts a lot faster, a lot better. You know, you can get a lot more work done and everything else like that. So it worked for me.
Have you ever heard the truth behind the construction of Mount Rushmore? If not, let me get straight to it. Before the construction of Mount Rushmore in 1927, the Black Hills and South Dakota was native to the Sioux people, or the Sioux. Also previous to the construction of Mount Rushmore, there was gold found, natural artifacts, ancient artifacts, and a plethora of many other things of value to the Sioux. The Gov treated the Sioux Nation of Indians like trash. And that's not the first time we've ever seen that when natural resources come into play. Which of course brings me right back to the construction of Mount Rushmore, 1927. The name of the sculptor who was assigned to the project of Mount Rushmore was named Gusson Borglum. Between 1927 and 1939 is when the majority of the work by Gusson Borglum would be done. Also throughout this time period, Gusson Borglum had the idea of creating something called the Hall of Records for all 4 of the presidents. Stay with me, I'm gonna get right back to the Hall of Records. According to Gusson Borglum himself, the plans were to make Mount Rushmore and the 4 presidents sculpted all the way down to the waist. But unfortunately for the artist, he passed away in 1941, and here's where things start to get very interesting. So of course, Gusson Borglum passes away, and then the project goes into the hands of his brother, Laken Borglum. And then not long into the year 1940, they could no longer afford to do the project. Even though it was funded by Peter Norbeck, who was a U.S. Senator at the time of South Dakota and had federal funding like I mentioned earlier. So of course, following that, the government isn't going to allow this project to go unfinished. In the eyes of Gusson Borglum, this is what Mount Rushmore should have looked like. And this is what we got instead. However, there is one place that they made sure they finished construction. None other than the Hall of Records, of course, right on the top of head of Lincoln. There are a lot of theories saying that there's more than meets the eye to the Hall of Records. Very few people have access to the Hall of Records, and very people even have knowledge of the Hall of Records. This is how it looks from the inside out, the surface, but it's a lot bigger than what they say. So who is it to say that the Hall of Records doesn't hold more than what meets to the eye? More than bibliographies, artifacts of North America, honors and heroics, quote unquote, of the 4 presidents. And since they took it upon themselves to complete the Hall of Records, but not complete Mount Rushmore how Gusson Borglum wanted it, I think it might be a lot more to it. And I say this because before, after, and during the construction of Mount Rushmore, the Sioux people were fighting constantly to get their sacred land back, the Black Hills, even to the point where it went to the Supreme Court in 1980, United States versus Sioux Nation of Indians. The ultimate ruling was that the U.S. didn't violate anything, and that the taking of their sacred land would only need compensation, which settled at $1.2 million. They didn't take it. Today, we're billions of dollars, and they still haven't accepted the money. Why have such high payout if you're not high enough? Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments.
That's something to think about. Like, you know, I've never personally, I haven't heard of the records thing. Now he sparked my interest. I gotta go look that up. That's why these videos are dope. I do appreciate him. I'm definitely gonna look into that. But that looked like a place where you walk in and a nigga that ain't had nothing to eat in like thousands of years is gonna bite you, and you gonna run out that bitch and turn into a vampire looking like Morbius. You know what I'm saying? Like, that gave me those type of vibes. But it would be cool to go see something like that. You know, I'd just be talking junk. It'd be cool to go see something like that if we had access to it. Wonder what, you know, we wonder what we'll find. What we find in there? What will be written on those walls? What's so important? Why is it up there? Why is it hidden? Let me know in the comments down below, people. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this video right here. Very informational. Hopefully y'all didn't skip around, because look, man, you know, that was a lot right there, and I think it told a really detailed story of like what's really going on out here, man. But look, make sure y'all stay logged in with these videos. Make sure, you know what I'm saying, y'all taking care of yourselves, your family, you know, distill your water, filter your water, you know. But I see y'all in the next video, and like I always say, spread love, because there's too much hate in this world. Love you guys. I see you in the next video, and I'm out though. Bye.